Well, for more on this, we're joined by Matthew Bryza, a former US ambassador and currently a board member of the Jamestown Foundation. He joins us now from Istanbul. Really good to have you with us, Ambassador. Let's talk about Antony Blinken's visit to Turkey. It comes at a very divisive time. We know Turkey has been very outspoken in its support of Palestinians and its condemnation of the Israeli onslaught on Gaza. Antony Blinken, meanwhile, has been seen as one of the biggest champions of Israel in this conflict. What are Hakan Fidan and Antony Blinken likely to discuss, given the divisions between the two countries on their approach to the war on Gaza?
Sure. Thanks, Oscar. By the way, before we get into Israel and Gaza, I think they're going to talk about Ukraine as well, where Turkey's played such an important role, as well as Sweden's NATO membership bid. But coming back to Israel and Hamas, the positions aren't radically different in as much as in the beginning, President Erdogan condemned the savagery of Hamas against the Israelis. And in the beginning, the U.S. did the same and has tempered its support for Israel subsequently. And if you listen to what both President Biden and Secretary Blinken have been saying lately, they clearly have been putting on Israel to, stop the fighting, although for a humanitarian pause rather than an indefinite ceasefire. And also they're pressing Netanyahu to stop allowing for so many civilians to be killed. So there's not huge, unbridgeable distance between the Turkish and U.S. positions. But as you were describing in the package, there is this demand on the Turkish side for an immediate ceasefire and a demand on the U.S. side for something different, for a series of short-duration humanitarian pauses.
That's right, because when Antony Blinken was touring the region, when he met with other Arab foreign ministers in Jordan, they had pressed on the US to call for a ceasefire. Obviously, Washington has refused to do so for now. He also called on Israel to consider humanitarian pauses, a request that Benjamin Netanyahu flat out rejected as well. So what is the middle ground here? If the US seemingly can't get any side to agree on any cessation of hostilities, I mean, what can the US do at this point?
Yeah, that's a great question, Oscar. I mean, there are some problems that at any given moment are not fixable. And I think we're in one of those right now. The Israelis are determined to press their military assault on Hamas's headquarters forward. What I hope is going to happen is now, as TRT World has been reporting all morning, that the Israelis have encircled now the northern part of Gaza. I think we're going to see the battles go down into the tunnels, and the Israelis will try to cut off the Hamas leadership in those tunnels and isolate them there. They've so-called shaped the battlefield by destroying so much of the apartment buildings and other buildings that are above the tunnels, which obviously Israel's being accused of having committed war crimes in that regard. But now I hope that if the battle shifts the way I've just said, we'll see the aerial bombardment reduced dramatically, and then there'll be the ability for more and more humanitarian assistance to come in, and a less intense war when it comes from the civilians' perspective.
We also know that during his visit of the Middle East, Antony Blinken had been canvassing a future for Gaza without Hamas. When he met with the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah, Blinken asked him if the Palestinian Authority could play a role in the future of Gaza if indeed Hamas was able to be eliminated, as Israel has stated it aims to do. Abbas seemingly rejected that idea without a comprehensive two-state solution. We know Turkey's approach to Hamas is vastly different from the US. Turkey sees Hamas as liberators of the people of Gaza. Is there any way that that can be bridged? It would seem that it is quite a stark difference, the two approaches to Hamas.
Yeah, I think that the only way their approach to Hamas would change is if it's eliminated, if its military arm is eliminated, or if somehow Israel gave up on its military offensive. But I don't think that's possible. So I think the difference over Hamas will endure, as you know, the United States and the European Union have both designated Hamas a terrorist organization, and as you said, Turkey has a different approach. So if you look at what are the logical possibilities for the political future of Gaza, Israel has said we're not going to be involved. They tried to build a wall around it, as we know. And Hamas won't be involved. So that leaves the best outcome would be for the Palestinian Authority to take over again and administer Gaza. But as you said, as Abbas has said, we're not going to get back in there riding essentially on the tanks of Israel to take over unless there is a two-state solution, not only on the table, but in reality. That's a negotiating position. I think that to get to that two-state solution and or Palestinian control again over Gaza, we're going to have to see some friendly Arab states step in. Egypt doesn't want to take over control of Gaza again, as it used to have. But I think Egypt, Jordan, Qatar, as you've been describing, are all interested in being in the mix, as well as maybe Saudi Arabia, in creating a temporary political solution until there can be that two-state solution for Israel and a new Palestinian state, which could take a while.
Okay, Ambassador Matthew Bryza, we'll have to leave it there. But thank you, as always, for joining us on TRT World.